Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave. It's day 147 of the lockdown. I don't know how many days we've been locked down, but Adam Savage here in my cave with a show and tell based on some questions that you guys have been asking on social media. Specifically, someone reached out and said, I'm noticing in the background there are all sorts of interesting signs around, and they were particularly curious about this one that says, dressing or undressing prohibited. And there's actually a cool story behind it. So I figured I'd tell you. But I'm also going to give some broader context to this to try and honestly, broader context is just to make myself seem more important, because I want to go back to MIT in the 50s and the origin of the word hacking. If you haven't researched it, it's actually a pretty cool history, because hacking, as originally meant, was about exploring things that might not be amenable to you exploring them, but leaving no trace that you had done that. And that started, really the whole idea of urban exploration as a hobby started at MIT in the mid-century. And it's now a big thing. People go and investigate sewers, and there was a famous movie theater in the catacombs of Paris that, no one still knows who set it up, et cetera. Suffice to say, is a long way of saying that urban exploring is really more like a codified name for a hobby that every teenager indulges in at some point. And I was no exception. So I grew up in Tarrytown, New York, about 25 miles north of New York City. Tarrytown is where the Tappan Zee Bridge crosses from Westchester County to Rockland County. And it's an amazing little town. It encompasses a lot of wild land, protected wildlife sanctuary, I believe, from the Rockefellers. It's right on the Hudson River. And I also grew up in a town with a GM plant right at the edge of a park called Kingsland Point Park. And Kingsland Point Park was the location of the lighthouse. Actually, it's the same lighthouse that I broke my neck jumping off of, but that's a totally different story. Kingsland Point Park was a recreational park. You could go there and have picnics. It's a beautiful, beautiful location. And they also had a bathhouse, not a bathhouse, but a place where people could go take showers after swimming, and there was a boat club, and you could rent boats. This is all back in the day. All of it was mothballed long before I was a kid. But as I grew up, this pool house, bathhouse, showers at Kingsland Point Park was always shut down. And sometime around the age of 16, I found my first lockpick. Actually, I found the blade of a street sweeper brush, which are made of steel, and using it, I fashioned my first lockpick. Later on, when I discovered the internet, and the very first thing I ever downloaded from the internet in, I think, 1993 was the MIT Guide to Lockpicking. And it codified that the blade of a street sweeper brush is, in fact, a fantastic lockpick. And I filed a lockpick, and I rudimentarily taught myself how to pick a 5-tumbler lock. And then I started looking around for locks to pick where I had lots of time, because it took me half an hour to 40 minutes to actually do it. And these shower rooms, this boathouse at Kingsland Point Park was perfect, because it was often empty. This building was, I don't think it was fenced off, but I certainly would have that block of time, 40 minutes, to try and pick this lock up to the building without someone happening across me. And so I did that. And I was able to open the front door of that bathhouse and wander through and just sort of see all the abandoned stuff. I was really, really psyched about it. And then I came across this sign, which I find hilarious. This sign speaks deeply to my sense of humor, because it describes a state between two poles that doesn't seem to be possible. Wait, if I can't dress and I can't undress, what can I do? Am I breaking the rules just being a person there? So I carefully removed the sign from the wall and took it home, and it has been part of every space that I have lived in since the mid-'80s. I had this in my dorm room at college. I had it in my first apartment, all the apartments I had in New York, here in San Francisco. It has followed me around. So I'm glad you noticed it, because I'm quite fond of it. As you can imagine, I've had it now for 35 plus years. And like I said, it makes me smile every time I look at it. Thank you guys for asking these wonderful questions. I will keep on doing show and tells from here in the cave. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.